At 82 years old, I thought I had finally reached a point in life where I could slow down and enjoy a little peace. After decades of hard work, raising a family, enduring loss, celebrating joys, and learning countless lessons, my family and I made what we believed was the most reasonable decision. I would move into a nursing home. They told me I'd be safe there, surrounded by trained staff, with meals prepared for me, medical help always available, and plenty of people my age to talk to. I trusted them. I trusted the system. I truly believed I was stepping into a place that would honor my age with dignity and care. But the truth hit me hard, and much sooner than I expected. What I found instead was regret. Deep, lingering regret that still lives with me every day, because no one tells you what you're really giving up when you walk through those doors. They don't talk about the emptiness, the isolation, the routines that steal your identity, or how easily you fade into the background of a place that was supposed to support you. I don't say this to scare you, but to prepare you. If you or someone you love is thinking about moving into a nursing home, I urge you, listen to my story before you make that decision. Because once you give up your independence, your space, your rhythm, getting it back isn't easy. And the cost, emotionally, mentally, even spiritually, is far greater than most people realize. Let me introduce myself. My name is Margaret, and like many people my age, I've lived a full life. I was a teacher for over 30 years, a wife, a mother, and now a grandmother. I've experienced love, loss, joy, hardship, all of it. When I turned 81, I started noticing that things weren't as easy as they used to be. I'd forget where I put my keys, get tired more easily, and need help with some daily tasks. My children became concerned, and I could see the worry in their eyes. They wanted me safe, cared for, and after many conversations, we agreed that moving into a nursing home was the right decision. At the time, it seemed like the responsible, loving choice. They promised it would be comfortable, that I'd never be alone, that I'd be surrounded by people who understood my needs. I know that many of you watching this are facing, or will soon face, the same kind of decision. Maybe you're thinking about your parents, or maybe you're in your 70s or 80s, wondering what's next. And you've probably been told the same things I was. It's safer there, you'll be cared for, you'll have everything you need. On the surface, it sounds reassuring, but here's what no one told me, and what no one is telling you. There are hard truths about nursing home life that rarely get spoken out loud. Realities that once you're inside are hard to undo. And that's why I'm here today, to share with you the 6 biggest regrets I have, and the things I so deeply wish someone had told me before I made this life-changing decision. Regret #1. Loss of independence. The first and perhaps most painful regret I carry is the loss of my independence. Before I moved into the nursing home, my days were my own. I woke up when I wanted, made tea in my favorite mug, took walks in the neighborhood, and decided what I wanted to eat based on how I felt that day. I could sit by the window and watch the birds, listen to music as loud or as soft as I liked, and spend time with my thoughts in peace. My home, no matter how modest, reflected my life, my choices, my memories, my freedom. But the moment I entered the nursing home, that freedom began to disappear. Suddenly, everything operated on someone else's schedule. Breakfast at 7:30 sharp, even if I wasn't hungry. Group activities at 10, whether I wanted to participate or not. Medication rounds, lunch, lights out, all controlled by a clock I didn't set. Even the simple act of stepping outside for fresh air required permission and someone to accompany me. And if no one was available, you waited or you gave up. I remember sitting on the edge of that unfamiliar bed during my first week, wanting to read the book I brought from home, but something felt off. The room wasn't mine, the chair wasn't mine, the silence felt hollow. The little comforts that once made me feel like me were gone. And with them, I began to feel like I was fading too. When you lose the ability to make even the smallest decisions, when your time is no longer yours, it chips away at your identity. You start adjusting to the system because you have no choice, and over time you stop asking. You stop resisting, you stop expecting to choose. That's the hardest part. You don't just lose control of your schedule, you begin to lose a sense of who you are. So before you or someone you love makes the decision to move into a nursing home, ask this: am I ready to give up the small freedoms that make me feel alive? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them in ways you never imagined.
Regret #2. Emotional isolation. The second regret that weighs heavily on my heart is something I never anticipated: the deep and quiet loneliness that comes from emotional isolation. When I first moved in, everyone told me I wouldn't be alone. My daughter said she'd visit every week. My grandchildren were excited to come see me on the weekends. And for a while they did. The first few weeks were filled with warm hugs, updates about their lives, and promises that nothing would change. And I held on to those promises. I needed to believe them. But slowly, life outside these walls kept moving. My daughter got busier. She started calling instead of visiting. My grandchildren had school, jobs, friends. The visits came less often, and then stopped coming altogether. No one meant to disappear. They just drifted. Life does that when you're no longer part of it. Inside the nursing home, you start noticing patterns. Residents staring at the door every afternoon, hoping today might be the day someone comes. Watching the calendar and counting down to birthdays or holidays that often pass with just a phone call or nothing at all. The silence in these rooms isn't just quiet. It's heavy, and it's shared by so many of us. I don't blame my family. I know they love me, but love and presence are not always the same. And when you're no longer present in their daily lives, it's easy for people to assume you're fine, that you've adjusted, that you don't need as much. But you do, we do. As humans, we don't just need medication and meals, we need connection. Real connection. The kind that makes you feel seen, heard, remembered. If you're thinking about a nursing home, know this: it may provide care, but it can never replace family. And no amount of structure or safety can fill the aching space where relationships once lived. Regret #3. Quality of care concerns. When my family and I decided on a nursing home, one of the main reasons was the promise of professional care. We were told I'd have trained nurses, quick medical response, regular checkups, and that all my daily needs would be met with dignity and compassion. It sounded reassuring. It felt safe. But once I settled in, I began to see the cracks behind the polished brochures and kind smiles on the tour. The truth is, not all care is created equal. Staff members are overworked, stretched thin, and often burned out. You wait longer than you should for help getting to the bathroom. Your call light might go unanswered for 15, 20, even 30 minutes. And sometimes, you stop pressing it because you feel like a burden. Medications get delayed. Meals are rushed. Hygiene, something so essential, can feel like a task to be checked off instead of a moment of care.
And while there are some incredible caregivers, people who truly try, the system doesn't always support them. They're juggling too many residents at once, and there's little time for kindness or conversation. You become a room number, a routine, a responsibility to manage, not a person with stories, feelings, or preferences. I remember one evening, I had a painful cramp in my leg. I pressed the call button. No one came for almost 40 minutes. When a nurse finally arrived, she apologized, clearly exhausted, and said, "We're short tonight." That phrase became common. We're short. Short on staff. Short on time. Short on attention. It's hard to feel safe when the care you were promised becomes inconsistent. And harder still, when you start to doubt whether your needs will be met, not just physically, but emotionally and respectfully. So if you're considering a nursing home, don't just ask about the services, ask about the staff ratios, the turnover, the reviews from real families. Because glossy brochures can't show you what happens at 2 a.m. when you're alone, in pain, and wondering if help will come. Regret #4. Loss of purpose. One of the most unexpected and painful regrets I've experienced is this, the loss of purpose. When I lived in my own home, even in my 80s, I still had a reason to get up each day. I tended to my little garden. I made my own meals. I folded laundry while humming to the radio. I wrote letters, knitted blankets for my grandchildren, and helped a neighbor with her grocery list. I had goals, routines, responsibilities, small things maybe, but they gave my days meaning. But once I moved into the nursing home, that all changed. Almost overnight, everything that made me feel needed stopped. Meals were cooked and handed to me on a tray. My laundry was done by someone else. Activities were offered, but they often felt like time fillers rather than passions, and no one asked for my help anymore. No one needed my advice. I wasn't a contributor, I was now a recipient, and slowly, I began to feel invisible. People underestimate how much we, as human beings, regardless of age, need a sense of purpose. When you no longer feel useful, it chips away at your spirit. You begin to ask yourself, why am I still here? What do I bring to the world now? Purpose isn't about productivity, it's about connection, identity, and contribution. And in the quiet, controlled structure of nursing home life, those things can disappear if you're not careful. If you're helping a loved one make this decision, please ask what still brings them joy, what makes them feel valuable. Because once you take away purpose, the body may remain, but the soul begins to drift. One of the regrets that's hardest to talk about, because it touches something so personal, is the loss of dignity in daily life. Before I came here, I took pride in caring for myself. Even in my old age, I liked to pick out my clothes, brush my own hair, choose what perfume to wear. Small things maybe, but they mattered. They reminded me that I was still me, still a woman with choices, with preferences, with self-respect. But in the nursing home, that dignity slowly slipped away. You're bathed by strangers on a schedule. Sometimes they rush. You're told when it's time to get dressed, often in clothes you didn't choose. You might wait an hour for someone to help you to the restroom. And if they're too late, the embarrassment is indescribable. You apologize for things that shouldn't require apologies. And after a while, you stop asking. You stop expecting to be treated with privacy or grace. Even the way people talk to you changes. You're called sweetie or dear by people young enough to be your grandchildren. They don't mean harm, but it's patronizing. It reminds you daily that the world no longer sees you as capable or wise. You're seen as fragile, as a task, as someone to manage. But dignity is not a luxury. It is a basic human need. And when it's taken from you little by little, you begin to feel more like an object than a person. If you're watching this and considering this path, I ask you, is safety worth the price of dignity? Because when you strip away dignity, what's left doesn't always feel like living. It feels like existing. The final regret, the one no one warned me about, is this: once you move into a nursing home, getting out is far more difficult than you think. At first I told myself this was just temporary, a place to recover, a place to rest. My family said the same. Let's see how it goes. You can always come home if it doesn't feel right. I believed that. I needed to. But over time I began to realize that temporary had quietly become permanent. The longer I stayed, the more complicated leaving became. My house was sold. My things were given away or stored. The routines of my old life faded, and my voice in major decisions. It got smaller. People started speaking for me instead of to me. I would hear things like, "You're safer here," or "You need too much help now." And just like that, the idea of going back home became not only unlikely, but nearly impossible. You see, nursing homes are designed for staying, not for transitioning back to independence. Once you're in, the system, the paperwork, the insurance, it all assumes you'll remain. And unless you have strong health, strong finances, and even stronger family support, the odds of leaving grow slim. And it's a heartbreaking thing to realize. You walked in thinking you had a choice, but you may not have a way out. So if you're standing at the door of this decision, either for yourself or for someone you love, please consider this carefully. Don't assume there's always a way back. Ask the hard questions now, while you still can. Because once you're in, the walls can quietly close in around you. I've shared with you the 6 regrets I've lived through, things I wish someone had told me before I made the decision to move into a nursing home. These aren't easy truths, but they're important ones. And I'm not saying that every nursing home is the same, or that this path won't work for everyone. But I do want to make sure you understand what's at stake. There's a big difference between being cared for and living fully. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking a nursing home is the answer. It feels like a safe, structured option. It promises care and comfort. But if you're not careful, it can strip away the very things that make life meaningful: your independence, your purpose, your dignity, your connection to the world. Before you or anyone you love makes this decision, ask the right questions, challenge the assumptions, think about the small freedoms you'll miss. Think about how you want to live, not just survive in your later years, because life doesn't end when we get older. It changes, yes, but it's still precious, and we should hold on to the parts of it that matter. If you know someone who's considering a nursing home, share this video with them. It might be the wake-up call they need before making a life-altering decision. And if you're facing this choice yourself, know that it's okay to question it. You deserve to live with dignity. You deserve to be seen, heard, and valued. Remember, it's never too late to start living the life you want. Take your time, make an informed choice, and know that whatever path you choose, you can still find joy and purpose on your own terms. Thank you for watching. Stay strong and take care of yourself.